Mm. Underneath the hanging tree. We're gonna give y'all 1 minute of this one right here. This young cat. It's called One Day on Facebook. So tell me, his name is Elijah Blake. It's called The Hanging Tree. And it is so relevant to today, being MLK Day.
Yes.
You know, he was out of pocket. My beautiful wife right here, she was feeling under the weather.
Feeling a little under the weather, y'all. So we had to come in today instead of Sunday.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So first and foremost, happy MLK Day to all my people. Yes. We once again talking about the Black community.
Yeah.
And first and foremost, we're going to be talking about our culture, and we're going to be talking about traditions that happen in the Black community. You know, all the way from family reunions to the cookouts that we know how to get down on.
Fish fries.
You know, it's just something deep about it, you know, that
we all get together.
We know how to put on the show. And I think it's awesome to celebrate.
Yes, it is. We need to celebrate each other.
And our traditions.
Yes.
Both young and old. Yes. So this is actually, you know, this is episode number 11.
Number 11,
us
wow.
On the T.
11?
Yes.
Oh, we've been busy.
And we've been doing our thing. So,
we've been busy.
You know, without a doubt, first and foremost, I just like to say, welcome to the T. I'm your man. I ain't no boy. I'm your man, Chauncey Anderson, and this is my lovely, lovely wife.
Yes, I'm your co-host, Mayaka Anderson.
Yes, and we are so honored and privileged to come again to talk to the Black community.
Yes.
About those things that are so near and dear to our heart, both in our household, in our personal lives, and our professional lives. Things that we wish to see take root here in 2019. Want to plant that seed of culture and tradition in the Black community.
Yes.
Some of the things that you guys might think about as far as culture and tradition. Sometimes we jump all the way back to before we were slaves, and you see a lot of the traditional African cultures and traditions that are starting to come forward here over in the United States. What I think it's awesome.
Yes, from all different countries in the continent of
the
Africa.
Caribbean, the Brazil, you name it. Down in the South, there's a lot of tradition that comes out of there from where we've come from as an African American people. That traipse all the way across. I mean, just the whole diaspora of the United States and other different parts up in Canada and abroad, even in Europe.
Yes.
There are some things that, like I say again, today is a huge celebration for the lost, what I call a true legacy, Dr. Martin Luther King.
That's so true.
He touched lives and across this vast United States in so many ways by way of fighting for equality.
Equality, yes.
You know, for the Black community.
And true freedom.
You know,
and true freedom.
And it is still today, it registers. I mean, you cannot hardly even go into a state where there is not a Dr. Martin Luther King street
in a neighborhood. Yeah, it's so true.
Which makes vastly up the Black community. Where you find Dr. Martin Luther King, you're gonna find the Black community.
You're gonna find us.
Know, without a shadow of a doubt. I don't care, you know, up to Pacific Northwest, which is Washington, all the way across to New York City, down to Florida, back over here to Cali.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King has been given that distinct honor. And that right there, as our ancestors, that speaks volumes.
Yes, it does.
Because it sometimes shows to me what you have to be willing to do in the Black community. You have to be willing to give yourself freely. You know, as a man, a woman, a child, an elder, a youngster.
That's so true.
Because we are spiritual people, and we can't think of our lives as being, even though precious, that it can't be put on the line.
That is so true. And I think that's what not only Martin Luther King did, but Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, You know, all of them, they were willing to sacrifice their lives for their people, for their beliefs, to move forward. Yeah, they were willing to give it all, even though they had families and wives and whatever. They thought we were worth it.
And you see a lot of the young cats today, a lot of young women today, Sandra Bland being one of them. That's a strong sister who put her life on the line.
Yeah.
You know,
they just wasn't going to do it anymore.
You know, you don't just pull us over just to be pulling us over.
Right.
You know, I'm in a reason. And justice will prevail. When you think about some of the other ones, the young brother down in St. Louis, Missouri, who died and laid out there 4 years, you know, and God, I can't even think of the street, but he lay there for 4 years and, you know, with his hands up, and then he just gets shot down. That's why Black Lives Matter is happening, because we truly believe our culture deserves more than what we're being given.
And Black Lives Matter is more than a movement. It is a lifestyle. So don't get caught up in like the organization. You know, I don't know all that entails, but I do know that our lives do matter. So the motto is true. Whether you believe in the organization or not, our lives do matter.
It does matter. Or you take the mother who just won her position in Congress. Her son was killed just for sitting at a convenience store in a car playing music. You know, our culture is much, much more than what some other ethnicities give us credit
for. Yes.
And what we have to do once we see the value of our culture and our tradition, then we'll be able to bring forward, you know, that next level of things that we want to have happen.
Right.
You know, for our men and our women, you know, we won't get caught up in saying that we must go to work. We'll start creating businesses.
Right.
And giving jobs to those who need it. You know, we'll start teaching our children the importance of not only to get a good education, but what to do with that education that's afterwards.
That is so true. Giving them a plan and alternatives. It does not have to be in stone what Western society has taught us, but there are other things. What is the young gentleman we were watching on YouTube? I'm not sure who you had me watching, the gentleman who is Indian and Black.
Oh, you're talking about Dr. Booker T. Washington.
Booker T. Washington. He said, you know, we have to stop thinking in the box or outside the box. But he said destroy the box. And that's what we need to do. We've been given a box since we've been at these Americas, and we've been told the rules that that's in this box, and that we have to be confined to this box, and there's nothing else for us outside of the box. And then there's a lot of us trying to get out the box. And get out the box, you don't go back for the rest. You don't come back home to change those rules or the system within the box. But what he said was just destroy the box. There are no rules. This world is so full of possibilities, and the magic and the power that we have inside of us, we cannot be subjected to another society's rules and programs for us, because we don't come from that. We don't come from that stock. And so we need to start learning to think outside the box and not destroy the box, and start coming up with our own ways, our own structures, our own, especially when it comes to feeding our spiritual side.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's, I mean, like I say again, when you go and look in history, and even when the people first landed, our ancestors being brought here, they were not just men and women in chains. They were not men and women without intelligence. They were brought here for that purpose and reason. I mean, I think the book that I want to get here real quick is on Benjamin Banneker. Not only an astronomer, a mathematician, a man of great knowledge and wisdom. He helped define and create, wrote the almanac. He himself, he did magnificent things to help and to aid what they call the founders of the United States, you know, plot and lay out the land. DC in and of itself.
And architecture and all that.
You know, those greatnesses that came with mine is, I go back, we spoke about them a while back, was George Washington Carver.
Yeah, great man. Just
this
amazing.
Man who was castrated at 7 years of age. Now, just think about that for a moment. Why would you castrate a person that young of an age who at that point has the knowledge and wisdom as he grows and learns about the peanut and then has all these great discoveries?
Right.
A 7-year-old child's mind must have just been, I mean, you would think that it would just shut down from such a horrific event.
Yeah,
but this man did phenomenal things in his time. Madam C.J. Walker.
Yes.
You know, this, I mean, another woman, I mean, her family coming from where they did, but for her to just take a business idea and create, I mean, just something that's just magnificent for our women, our community.
For our community.
That's the thing. That we look at it and we start understanding what's for our community, and we begin to bring those traditions, bring our culture out, and start spending for our community and for our people. What ends up happening again at 1.6 trillion dollars that we spend annually? You will have you won't have the problems that you see our communities having.
We'll be able to produce jobs in those small towns that jobs didn't exist. We'll be able to build. Every dollar is like a Lego block. We just continue to stack and stack and build and basically build our own wall. It'll be an invisible wall, but it'll be our own wall that includes only us, where our dollar and our money stays in longer. And as you were talking about culture, what the type of people we were before we hit these shores. I always think about what I not had my ancestors not reached the shores. You know, would I have been a midwife? Would I have been, a medicine woman? Would I have been a pottery person? You know, what was my family legacy back then that we did? You know, would you have been a warrior? Would you have been a hunter? Like what, those things that are lost forever. Like we don't know what we would have been or what our primary job would have been in our tribes had we not have come here. And that's a lot of things that, amongst other things that we have lost, as far as language and our garbs and all of that. It's just so much that's missing. And I feel like we're trying to grasp at straws at a lot of things. And there's nothing wrong with that because we've been lost for so long, and we're all identifying with different parts of Africa and different countries of Africa and just kind of merging it all. And I feel like there's a new culture and a new tradition being made.
No, and I think what you're saying is that as people are waking up, and James Brown said, about being Black and being proud, and you go on a search that would be like for anybody, but for our people, once we begin to understand and wake up to, here in the 21st century, those things which are important, which move us back to our motherland and to the continent of Africa, those 50-some countries, by which we began to, do our research and have our understanding and understand that, we didn't necessarily we had the laws that by which most of what we call our traditional religions today have taken from. The 42 laws of Ma'at, the 10 commandments came from, but it spoke about you as a person. You said, I have not stolen. You didn't say you have not stolen, as it says in the Bible or the Quran or the Torah, Hinduism. I mean, you can just go through the many aspects of religions, but that was our frame. If we began to make that our culture, our framework, that we began to build, here we are, our daughter is about to have, a grandson.
Our 5th grandchild
about to come into the world. What could be given if you pour into that next generation?
Yes, that's exactly
the greatness that can come out of it by blessing that child from birth.
Right.
And getting them on that path of who they are so that they know their true identity.
Right. And having a boundary already set of what is permitted within the household, what is not permitted from a young age. Yes. I mean, and that takes discipline and responsibility on your part, because you have to play that. You have to be that boundary that they see. Not that you just say these things because it sounds nice and this is what you're supposed to do, but this is the way we are going to live our lives. Not only are you going to live your life this way, but I'm going to live my life this way. And is in contact with you is going to agree with these boundaries and rules and going to push them along with us. So there's not going to be any dissension in the rank or someone saying, oh no, let the baby. No, we all agree as a family. Right. And this is how you build and uplift children as they grow. Yes. Then they don't have any outside thoughts of foolishness or the streets. They know what's expected of them, and it's treated with such reverence and spoken with such love that they feel like this is something special
to be a part of this.
Yes, like wow, this is how my family do. This is how we do things in my household, and they feel like they're a part of something just so magnificent that they don't want to let you down, and they don't want to tart your name. You know, so I think the traditions in the culture is so important, and it's so sad. As I wish I would have known this when I was younger and had my kids. You know, we're just now waking up and coming to our own, and so we're just trying to bring others on, you know. So if you have little ones already or thinking about having children, to think about these things about your culture and your traditions that you want to bring forth, and even going back and thinking about your grandma or grandpa and the things you used to do or your community used to do, and implement that. If it's disappeared, you be the one to plant that seed and start it all over again.
Exactly, because you have to be willing to put forth that, because in the guise of everything that goes on in this world, I mean, they want you to take your child, that boy or that young girl, and put them in front of the TV first and foremost.
They sure do.
Put them in front of the video games
so they can teach them,
and that's everything they want. But if you don't have traditions and cultures by which you set forth, and you're willing to show your child that you protect this, you know, I mean, just like the United States has a defense that has to be your household. So that as the child comes into it, or as the wife or the husband, or whoever walks through that door, they know that your household, one, is a place that is going to protect them. They're going to be loved. They're going to be cherished. And at the same time, they're going to be taken care of. But at the same token, ain't no foolishness going to be just happening in this household and allow for them to just get all kind of out of pocket. Because that's something that sometimes that's what we do. You have a warm, inviting home, and you have that's everything's built, but that structure isn't there. So they can come in a house and run ragged, and just you see it in other cultures. They be smacking their mamas and hitting on them, and you don't see that happen in too many Black folks' houses.
Not too many, because somebody if it's not the mom or dad that's going to straighten them out, who's ever watching it gonna get up and go on and take care of the situation for you. And
it's because that's how we love.
That is how we love.
We have strong love. We don't have this passive,
we don't have passive love. No, we have you gonna get this right.
Issues.
Because we don't want to see you behind bars, and we don't want to see you 6 feet under, and we don't want to see you in a mental ward. And so, sometimes it does take tough love, and they don't always understand that, even, as they grow a little older into teenagers, but they do get it sooner or later. They do see what the world has to offer, and then they heed your words. And they realize that you weren't lying, and that it was love. And they come back.
And it just helps with everything that goes forward. See, because they're going to show you they're going to show our kids, our youth, our young people a certain dynamic of what the Black community is like. They're going to show the men behind bars. They're going to show the women that story. That's what they say is our culture. And
it's so far from true.
The rap music that goes on, everything that they're putting out there now that they associate with us. The funniest part, next thing you know, that next culture wants to be doing it.
Right. They duplicate it.
90% of them can't dance, but everybody want to dance and be doing what we doing. Most of them can't cook, but next thing you know, they want to learn how to cook the way that we do. Most of them cannot even begin to, if you give us the same platform that they have from a financial standpoint or very other ways that they do, they can't even begin to hold, a stick to the things that we can do.
And that's why we've never had
everything that we do.
A even playing field. They know that they can't give us a even playing field, because if they did, we would easily take over once we know the rules to the game. But the thing is with society now is that as soon as we catch on to the rules of the game, you notice that the laws change.
Right.
And then now we have to, go to the new step of the, they're always changing. So it's always feeling like we can never really catch up. But I think we're doing a good job, and I think we're going the way that we need to go. I think, which makes me excited, because I feel like we're seeing things better, and we're learning to move in our own way.
Right. Change.
Yeah, it's
Any
just
type
change.
Of change that does happen.
Yeah.
What ends up happening is because most people are comfortable in a certain way that things go. Sometimes even with our elders, they're comfortable in some things that they I can get set in my ways, and I think sometimes even our youth can be the same way, because they're bought into this 21st century, this technological digital world. Our parents may be okay, they got it, but they're like, ooh, you're moving too fast.
Yeah.
Then you have that, our elders that just, unless you got a piece of paper in the
they're
pen,
like, baby, gone with that.
They're not even really trying to.
They ain't even
Facebook. Who?
Right.
So my face is fine. Yeah. That's what they be saying.
We have so many different levels with the generations and with the technology and all of that we really do need to be, because we are now doing things different and we're starting to set our own structure differently from the Western society. A lot of people have a little, they're a little angst about it, but I think the more that we have jump on board and try and figure it out, and we have a lot of people who give us love and graciously, let us in and be patient with us. I think we'll find ourselves in a better position. I think we are too quick to get upset with each other because someone is just not used to the foreign way that you think. It's just new. I mean, we have to give us. We've been stuck in this thing for a long time.
Hundreds and hundreds.
It's not going to change over a day or a week or a year. So you must recognize to be patient with your brother and sister and bring them along. And if they want to know,
having that light, having that light, and just that knowledge. As Maya was saying, that which I think is so fitting is that you look at culture, tradition. So many have said what our culture and our tradition are, and as we have waken up to it, or waken, which of the two is the proper word of saying, as we become mindful of it. The funniest part is that when you go back and you start looking at that history, you don't become like fearful or like, about slavery. You see some strong men and women that say, as far as me and mine, we're going to protect ourselves.
Right.
Then you just go take that water's edge and you take that trip across that ocean and you get back on the continent of Africa. Couldn't nobody but with melanin skin truly be in that country of some great time to do the things that our ancestors did.
Yeah.
But to begin to study and understand, as they say, we call it the hieroglyphics, but that, as they call it, our classical language, the Medu Neter, to understand what that language was, to be able to see the handwriting on the wall of what our ancestors wrote, so that we could begin to see both in upper and lower. I mean, as they said, because Africa's upside down, we see it as the way we see it on a map, but Upper Egypt is down, south, and Lower Egypt is north. And if once we begin to understand that aspect of it and all of that, which is rich, just like if you were a European and you go over to Europe or Eurasia and you see Italy and Spain and all these great Britain and Russia, China, and all these great countries, that's their tradition. Mm-hmm. That's their culture.
But Africa has just a richer tradition.
It's so rich that history. if these countries did not get what they got out of Africa, they would not exist in a heartbeat.
Yeah, they wouldn't have never come out of the dark ages.
They would not.
And that's truth. That's truth. They would not have been able to come out of the dark ages.
What people are. So just think being here in the United States, and you're starting to wake up to that. Mm-hmm. You're starting to see the various dynamics with young and old starting to move together. I mean, it's starting to merge together in the traditions and the culture, and they're learning from one another how to bring that which our ancestors knew of time past, bring it into the 21st century. Right. And that's going to separate us, because so many of us have gotten away from all this Western culture type teaching and learning, all the different types of food and processed food that we have. We start growing our own gardens. We start eating properly.
We're reading our own books by our own authors. We're starting to learn the truth behind a lot of things that we just took for granted because our parents told us this was the truth, and their parents told them this is what you just did. And now we are taking it and we're saying, stop, wait, that doesn't make any sense. We're now going back and we're reading and we're understanding, and now we're applying and we're sharing. Right. And so that others can go and do your research and be able to change accordingly, so that you can live the life that you were meant to live and do the things that are healthy for your body, which is not built like everyone else's body, and give it the nutrients it needs, as far as food, spirituality, mentality, all of that.
That goes to say, if you are, I just say it the way I know, a divine true specimen of a person, and you've been taught to feel both your mind that you was zero, nothing. Your culture has no nothing. You never had anything. That makes you, it kind of weakens you.
It does.
And then all of a sudden they say this is all that you can eat. Eating this stuff, that weakens your physical body. But you're still able to come through without, being just tore down. But then as you get to a point and you start learning what are the proper things that you are, it ain't saying that you're just going to turn over, kind of like Maya. I'm not going to eat any more food that's not plant-based, and then bam, she's just an incredible woman. She can do it. I still need chicken and some shrimp. I don't need a lot of red meat, but but you slowly come along.
It's a process.
And then all of a sudden, now you see your body for what it's worth.
She just had her second son, baby. So we have our fifth grandchild, third grandson.
Congratulations,
we are blessed.
God bless.
Yes,
we love you guys. There it is.
Picture.
There it is.
Look at him. It's so cute.
Ain't nothing but love right there. That's that next generation.
The next generation we're talking about. This is why we do this.
Yes, indeed. We love each and every one of you guys. Be strong. Be blessed. We're about to flip from the YouTube over to the Facebook. So God bless. Stay strong. Keep your head up. We out.
Love you, fam. Peace.